Hello, hello.
Hello,
Um,
everyone.
I don't know if I am going to say this right or not, but I know, of course, your handle is Eddie Makes Art. But I know from where do I know that from? Maybe I'm not even sure where, that your real name is Eduardo. So I've been,
Eduardo.
rolling the R's and I've been saying Eduardo Reyes because, this Ukrainian kid is trying to be what, Spanish or something?
That's good. That's great pronunciation.
I should tell you my maiden name and you could try saying that if, it's only about this long.
Probably not.
Yeah, maybe not.
I mean, I'm good at reading, but long words can be difficult sometimes.
Yeah. In your email, your ad on your channel, your Eddie, and I guess to your, if you were in trouble with your parents, you were Eduardo.
No, it was always Eddie, even with them. Always.
Even if you were in trouble, eh?
Even if I
So,
was in trouble.
yeah. So I just wanted to officially welcome you to episode 21 of Heart to Heart. And I do want to say that we're making a bit of history today because you're our first guy, our first.
Yeah.
Wait, let's see if I remember anything about first Y chromosome, right? Was that
Is that what it
how
is? I
was that?
think so.
Yeah. I should
I'm
have
just not good
researched
at
that
science.
before embarrassing myself. Um, so well, I'm thrilled, and in fact, had to change the tagline to this series by changing it from real women to real people because um, you know you guys are still kind of almost as scarce as hen's teeth out there. There aren't that many guys in this area of interest with YouTube channels.
Mhm.
um, Now I know that you have that you're in the rarefied company of Carrie Griffiths uh,
Yes.
because
An
of the
honor,
PM.
honestly.
Honestly, isn't that right?
Mhm.
Because of the PM Artist Studio connection, and we will get into that a bit. But maybe before we go that down that direction, I'll just sort of point out or say hi to who's here. So we've already acknowledged. Oh, that might have been before we went live. Cookie, who is what, president of your fan club in the UK. Beth is
That's
here.
right.
Diane Olson. Do you know Diane?
I do. Hi, Diane.
Estella Banks, Hope Smith, Susie Allen, um, and did I say Diane Olson? Yes, I did. Okay, so
Mhm.
I wanted to begin at the beginning and find out sort of what your origin story is. How did it come to pass that you started a YouTube channel? Were you always a creative, artsy fartsy kid, or what?
Yes, I loved art. My mom was big into crafting because she was a teacher, and so she always did, seasonal crafts and
Yeah.
gifty things. So I always participated in the making. So I got to really like it, and throughout school, whenever there was a chance to do something artistic, I took the opportunity because it was a good comfort zone for me.
So how long ago did you start your channel?
Almost probably a little more than 3 years, because it started with just a couple of watercolor videos with, there's no talking, it's just the watercolor. And because I was really into watercolor, but it's very difficult if you're not experienced to film yourself watercoloring and keep it consistent because one painting can take me 4 or 5 days, sometimes longer.
Yeah.
As with a lot of art projects, you can't just do it right away. So, I started learning more, and I started, creating smaller pieces, quicker pieces that it can be done. And then I kind of tailed off of that. I took a trip out west and came back and, you know, just wasn't feeling myself. Took a few months and just kind of, I was in not a great space. And then was getting bored. I was doing therapy, but I was bored, and I was feeling better about, I was feeling more motivated. So, I get on the YouTube and I see these videos because I watch watercolor videos, but then I started watching the paper crafting videos, and that got me, really motivated. And about 2 weeks later, you could walk into my room. The desk is covered in papers. There's stuff all over the floor. I was having a great time. I was having a blast. And then I decided to start doing, more proper videos. And when I got with PM Artist Studio, Mariah's the one who really guided me through the process of, how to upload the best stuff. The more techie side and the design stuff, and the overall appearance and approach. So yeah, she was a really big help, and been doing it ever since.
That was one of the questions I wanted to put to you. You definitely I think that anyone who visits your channel will obviously see that you love gel printing, you love collage, you love the creative aspect of what you're doing. The part, and this is me who doesn't do a lick of editing, and frankly, between you and me, has no desire to learn how to do it. Probably at my own peril. I was thinking, okay, this is a guy, and for anyone who doesn't know this man's channel, please check it out. It's worth it just for the boing that opens every video.
Really quick,
And
I took away the boing
did you?
at one point,
Oh,
and immediately it was like, no, you gotta do the boing. You gotta have the boing. So the boing stayed.
and I'm thinking, like how immature do I have to be that it makes me laugh every single time, even though it's not a surprise anymore?
But
Like
that's the
any
good part of it. That's so good, right?
So anyway, okay, so you've got the Boeing. Sometimes you are doing, now is the acronym AMRS, or did I get that backwards? That's where there's no talk.
ASMR.
ASMR. And I don't even know what that stands for other than there's no talking. And you
Yeah.
have, sorry, what is it? What does it stand for? Do you
No,
know the acronym?
it's basically, like sounds and textures and things that um, give you a tingle or make you give you comfort, or stimulates you in some way.
Yeah.
I guess I don't know the exact
Yeah.
definition.
So you have, okay, so you add music. You clearly play around with the playback speed because some parts are speeded up. You do the AMSR, and you do the Boeing, and I remember there was one video, like I think it was a late night thing. It was almost like I almost got the feeling like, okay, maybe he's a middle of the night disc jockey or something on a radio station, and it's just the guy and that one listener. That's how that one made me feel. Anyway, I am narrowing in on my question here. Which does the techie playing around with all those aspects give you as much pleasure as the creating, or is it just a necessary evil to do all that?
That's the whole angel and devil thing. Good and evil. I've gotten to a point where I have a process, and I go into it with, basic things that I do all the time. And then every so often I kind of try to change things up, um, that sort of thing. The music is mainly because sometimes I can't do a spoken video based on my circumstances. So that's why I do the music. Other times it's because I don't feel like talking. Honestly,
Okay.
it's just, you know what? Look at what I'm doing. I can't sit and explain this, but I want to show
Yeah.
you what I'm doing.
Yeah.
A lot of people at the beginning didn't appreciate that. They didn't get that. I got a lot of negative comments about, I don't like this music, or it's too loud, or, oh, I felt like I was in a club. I just wanted to watch some art. You know what? I'm not the only YouTuber doing this. You can go anywhere on YouTube and find someone else doing the same thing and talking you through it. And that's fine. There's a
Yeah.
whole large community out there. But if
Yeah.
you feel the need to drop that comment onto somebody's video that they created,
Yeah.
reevaluate yourself, because there's more important things in the world to worry about and to
Yeah.
comment on. Because if anybody who's a creator, a content creator, knows, it's not easy. It looks easy once I produce it and I upload it and you watch it,
Yeah.
but that's not easy. Some videos take 4 to 5 days to film.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and it's, didn't everybody's mother once tell us, if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything at all? Really, like, move along.
Mhm.
We don't need
Yeah.
your business here, kind of thing.
I mean, I
Um
had another comment where someone commented on my dirty fingernails. And I was just like, "Really? That's what you took from that whole video? Is that I had stuff on my fingernails? Do you realize what I just did and all the stuff I was messing around with? Of course, my fingers are dirty."
yeah.
I mean, but it's arty stuff, and if you're an artist who doesn't get your fingers dirty, you're not an artist.
I years ago I had a sign that said, a creative mess is better than tidy idleness. And I think that's almost like a mantra, really. If you're not making a mess, chances are you're not living very creatively
Yep,
and not
I agree.
making anything from scratch. Um, so it's interesting. I wouldn't have thought that you would have chosen sound, no sound, music versus talking as a way to improve your own comfort level in that particular instance. But that's a good bit of insight that I think we should all probably carry with us from now onward. That sometimes it's hard for people to create content, and maybe they are overcoming some sort of an obstacle that we have no awareness of, and maybe we should just accept it for what it is, knowing that not everyone is going to be necessarily to our liking. It's not going to be the ideal length. It maybe won't get an Academy Award or anything, but it is that person's best effort that day to do something for us that we can
Mhm.
freely access. Let's not forget that this is all free for the taking, baby.
And if you think people on YouTube make a lot of money, um, they don't. Now, when you get to a certain point of subscribers and exposure, um, there's more money that comes with that, because you get people who sponsor you, and you get, obviously you get all the views. But um, I applaud anybody who just does it and just does it and does it as best as they can, and puts themselves out there for pennies, literally pennies. I have videos that have only made pennies.
Yeah.
So, when I approach things for people who don't have the luxury of having, enough money to buy the best art supply or the best paint, or so I use what I got. And I say that a lot of my videos, I use what's available. You don't have to break the bank to create something. I started with
Yeah.
just whatever was in my closet, honestly. With the paper crafting, a lot of stuff that I had saved from my mom when she was a teacher. I used a lot of that, papers, glues, staples, punches, all this like weird stuff that she had saved. Um, and so, you know, and then, watching other people figuring out how to do things on a budget, or, okay, I like that. How can I do it, but cheaper? Um, and I've always been that way. Never, said, I always have to have the best. I would like to have the best, but if I
Yes.
can't, I'm
Would
going to find the next closest that I can manage.
Yeah.
You
Well,
fake it
and
till you make it.
exactly. And the flip side of because I think there are people out there who do rush out and buy the latest, greatest. They have the best of everything. But honestly, I'm not convinced that that makes them create any more or any
Mhm.
better. And I sometimes think that that can be paralyzing. Like I have some 300-pound Arches watercolor paper. Am I going to use it for paper crafting? No, not likely.
No,
You know,
that stuff's
so
precious.
it's exactly.
Mm,
Which I was going to comment on that because in some of the videos that I watched, in preparation for today, you were using, the $2 craft paint, acrylic craft paint, and then in your then you're reaching for something, fluid, golden golden fluid acrylics. I'm thinking
mhm.
I haven't bought any golden paint since I was taking art classes, and I know how damn expensive that stuff is. Whether it's the little, the 2-ounce bottle or the 8-ounce
Look how
jars.
small it is. It's not very big.
Yeah,
So when I pull these out, it's special.
yes.
You know.
But it also goes to show that you're mixing high end, low end, and everything in between because ultimately it doesn't matter. You can make something good with whatever you're using. I also think that one of these days I'm going to open up some of those golden jars and bottles and find out that they have dried. And who will be the sucker and the fool then instead of using it?
Yeah, got to use it.
So, yeah, exactly. Um, I noticed that I did want to ask one sort of equipment question. You clearly love gel printing, and
Mhm.
you were using a wooden tool to smooth it out, and I heard you call it a baron. So then, of
Mhm.
course, I Googled it because I thought, well, Eddie has one of those. Wouldn't I like one of those? And of course, when you Google it, you see that there's a wooden version out there, not nearly as nice as yours, I must say, and a bunch of plastic ones. And of course, the price point varies from here to there. Um, it is it just one of those really, is it one of those things that a person really should invest in because they're so darn good?
Um, there's a few reasons I invested in this. It's handmade. It's made from reclaimed wood, so it's not something that's been chopped down. It's local to the person who makes it, and each one is unique. Um, and it's made really well. And the artist is Anthony Cody. He's out on the West Coast, in the north, the Oregon, I forget. Anyway, he's Cody Woodcrafts on Etsy, and he turns wood. He makes barons. He makes all kinds of stuff. He's doing magic wands now, so you know, if you're interested in that sort of thing. Um, you know, when you're first starting out, I first started using when I was using for a baron. I used the cover to a candle jar. That was the flattest thing I
Okay.
had, the smoothest thing I had, and I just used that.
Yeah.
And then you know, I was watching PM Artist Studio, of course, and you know, they love to influence everybody. Um, and I just you know, I learned about these things, and you know, it's good for when you do a lot of gel printing. It relieves stress on the hand, the wrist, the fingers, and it avoids any, you know, all the constant friction with your skin and the paper. And so it's good if you have issues with that. It's good if you're older, and you know you're more arthritic. I don't know how else to put it. Or if just you know just you have you know issues with hands or gripping or whatever. And Anthony will work with you to make a custom size. You know, so obviously this one fits my big old paw, whereas you probably need something smaller, more to fit your size hand. You know, and he'll work
So
with
the
you on that. So that's cool.
so how big is the base of it? Is that about 3 or 4 inches?
You know, I knew you were
It
going to
just
ask me to take
happened.
out my ruler, but I didn't think it was going to be this early. Canada's naughty. I didn't think they are. 4.5 inch base.
Okay.
So for
I'm so
those with the metric, that is roughly 12 centimeters.
I was surprised at how smoothly it seems to glide along. But I guess if it was well made and well sanded, that would explain why that works.
Yes.
I think the cheapskate in me is going to try to figure out how I can improvise and make one
Well,
myself.
they are affordable. They are.
Are they?
I treated myself for my birthday. Um, Now, the only difference between now and then is shipping has gone up significantly. Um, but Anthony does not, his prices are not exorbitant. And I look at it this way: I'm supporting something who's doing something with their hands from the earth and making something beautiful and doing it from, you know, for the love of it and providing
Yeah.
also an artist tool. You know, he's
Yeah.
not a big business. He's not a box store, and he's a nice guy too. So that's even better.
Those are all good reasons.
Okay, Anthony,
Um,
did you hear all that? I expect another Baron in the mail this week. Just kidding.
so you when I asked you about the origin of your channel, you did say that you had been doing some watercoloring. Now, is that I think I also read in the about part of your channel that you are self-taught.
Yeah.
So was that your first foray into the artistic field, watercolors?
Mm, if we're talking about, well, no. I did retail work for many years, and most of my work in retail, other than managing, was window displays and just the layout of stores, the putting together of outfits and uh, vignettes and that sort of thing, table design. I did a lot of that with clothing, and then I had a couple of years where I worked at a home furnishing store, kind of not like super huge, but not tiny. They're a California-based company, but I got to work. They had an artistic team that would come in and help us decorate the store, and each store was unique, so that was really cool. So I got to work with them. all the time, after unloading a truck for 3 hours in the morning of furniture and candles and pillows and curtains. And then I'd go in and I'd work with them for the day.
I love that. When my mom and I had our store, that was absolutely my favorite. Like, of course, in a small business, your chief cook and bottle washer, you do everything, including clean the toilets. And my favorite part, without exception, was window displays and creating vignettes in the store. Because of course, our intention always was to get this product moving. And it was surprising to me that you could have had something on the shelf or on the rack for weeks or months, but move it around, show it in a different context, and all of a sudden people think you got new stock.
Bam.
So
Yep.
I loved doing that. And of course, when you're financing everything yourself, doing it on the cheap was even a bigger accomplishment.
Mhm.
So I love that you have that on your resume. Um, Now, we have talked a bit about PM Artist Studios, and of course, your fan club and posse are here. We haven't said hi to anyone lately, but that's just because we're so busy talking.
Chit chat.
Yeah, I finally, before coming on with you today, did go to their website, and I see that if a person wanted to specifically support a particular artist, like in this case, if they wanted to support Eddie, there is a place where the products are grouped by the creator, by the artist. So you have a nice little selection there, I must say.
Yeah. I'm
Now,
proud of it. Yeah.
I think that all the one now maybe I didn't look far enough, but I think all the ones I saw were stencils. So is there another place where there are stamps, or have you done exclusively stencils?
Well, if you type in my name, Eddie Reyes, all of my designs come up, including foam stamps, which I do have. Or there's a category along the menu at the top that says that's stencils, foam stamps, et cetera, et cetera. So you can click on foam stamps, and then along the left-hand side of the screen, you can see a list of you can choose by theme, season, holidays, and then you can also choose search by designer. So
Yeah.
it's really easy to use.
So do most of the people who are creating for the company, and of course I interviewed Darcy Sanders, a month or two ago. So do most people well, I guess you can answer for yourself. Do you have a cohort? Is it kind of a set where it's a stencil and a stamp, or not necessarily?
Not necessarily. No.
Okay.
I'm usually not clever enough to, think about past the stencil design and do a whole group of it. That's just me. But no, there are other designers who have collections that match within the same category. Like Stella, she's here in the chat. Her newest design that I used in a video called Paisley Party also has stamps that go along with it. So yeah, they do that. But like I said, I always forget that.
We call that upselling, my dear.
Yeah. And I was never good at that.
Oh. So I noticed also under your videos that you and you're the first person I would be asking about this. So I don't know, maybe these are going to seem like extremely stupid questions, but you have a line of merch. So is that one of those things where you have an agreement with a third party to produce a certain thing, whether it's a mug or a t-shirt or an apron or whatever, whatever the possibilities are, only when there is an order placed? So in other words, no one is holding a whole bunch of inventory of sweatshirts in half a dozen sizes.
Right. So I upload a design, and then I select whether I want it as just a t-shirt or I can, depending on the size of your design, it will give you options of what products can be made using that design. Um, so you can select or deselect whatever you want to feature with your design. But yeah, that's essentially how you explained it. That's how it works. Again, it's not a money maker. I do it because I think it's fun, and because sometimes someone wants a souvenir, and hey, there you go.
Yeah. So in essence, do you, the artist, just get a teensy weensy little commission if somebody orders something? The bulk of the
Mhm.
money goes to the people providing the product, right?
Right, because they're covering the materials,
Every-
the
Yeah,
shipping, the advertising. So yeah,
yeah.
so this is more
It
like
is,
a fun little thing.
yeah. And it is kind of exciting to think that there could be people roaming the earth wearing one of your things.
My stuff has been spotted in the wild recently. I don't know if Becky's in the chat, but recently Becky went to a Rocky Horror picture show celebration in her town in Belleville, Illinois, and small town. And she was filmed by the local news station online, waiting to get in with I believe it was my Out Loud and Proud T-shirt, proudly showing it. So that was pretty exciting.
Well, that is pretty exciting, and to get to have her featured on in another medium. I hope that resulted in a few more orders, or at least her 15 minutes of fame. Yeah, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, yeah.
That's it.
So,
And
oh, sorry. Go ahead.
oh no, it was like a half thought. Go ahead. I lost it. Told you
Well,
that's gonna happen.
I just I wanted to say, because here at Heart to Heart with Hazel, we're not shrinking violets, we're not cowardly. I like to think we're open-minded, thinking people, accepting people, and so on. So when I saw beneath your videos the Out Loud and Proud, I thought, "Hey, this is probably a gay man." um, you can't get much past me, I'll tell you. Anyway, I was
You are sharp, Hazel. You are a sharp tack. I tell you that.
I think I detected an eye roll right there. Um, anyway, I was watching some videos, and of course, I just kind of picked ones that I was interested in, and you have a whole collage playlist, which I happen to love collage. And son of a gun, if I don't see that there's one in celebration of Pride Week. So, of course, I watched it because it was a heck of a good project that I would like to replicate myself. And you very clearly talked about your own experience as a gay man.
Mhm.
And I just, and trust me, for anyone here live and anyone watching the replay, this is the ass covering part, the disclaimer. I understand that it's counterintuitive to be asking a question and making a big deal, potentially, about something like gender, when I know damn well that if someone was interviewing me, no one would ever say, "Well, Hazel, so what about your sex life?" It doesn't go that way.
Right.
But I think it's a legitimate topic for us here among friends, because I believe that everything, well, let me back up. I believe that every person we meet, every book we read, every experience we have, everything we do has a cumulative effect on who we are. So I can't help but believe that your experience, um, and probably some pain and suffering that you have encountered along the way with acceptance or whatever, have probably left a mark on you. Number one, is that true? And how have you turned to art as a way to help, um, to help? I don't know. Can you hear voices? Can you hear voices?
Mhm.
Because
One
I
moment.
can.
Sorry.
Oh, okay. So I'm not losing my mind.
Yeah.
Anyway, have you had to at different points in your life turn to art as therapy, as just a release of some sort to deal with what was going on in your day in your life?
Yes. Oh, yeah. Um, whether it's music, listening to music, that's something that's artistic that you get involved in, I think. Um, there is just walking out in nature and looking at beautiful stuff. And then there is the physical, actually, pen to paper or brush to paper. Um, that especially when I was in my darkest points, I decided to pick up a watercolor, and all I had was one of those, those sets you get at like the pharmacy that has like six
Yeah,
colors, all the basics plus a couple of others. I
yeah.
started with that. I was practicing with those, and I started with those and the cheap paper. Actually, I used plain paper until I realized I should probably get watercolor paper.
Yeah.
And then I just, it went from there.
Um, you and I had a little bit of a conversation before we went live, and
Hmm.
I told you about someone that I knew in the '80s who was struggling, who hadn't outed himself to his parents, his best friend, to anyone. He lived and died in denial. It absolutely broke my heart. And it occurs to me that as much as progress has been slow, I guess if you're living the life, um, I think progress has been made in that I believe there's more acceptance of sexual orientation these days, and hopefully life is not as hellish as it used to be, where people had to live kind of a secret life and die, um, with that kind of and die without being able to trust anyone with that info. Oh, oh, you're muted.
I'm going to push back on that only
Yeah,
because in this country, there's a marginalized group within that LGBTQT plus um, flag that is being targeted by our government, and those are trans people. And that is something that is disgusting. These are just people who just want to be who they want to be. They don't want to harm anybody. They just want to be themselves. And they're
yeah,
being used for political reasons in this country to drum up a base of ignorant bigots who need a group to demonize because they themselves can't be true to their own selves. So they have to pick on other people to get out that aggression and that frustration. Have you heard of the app Grinder? It's a gay
I think so.
dating app.
Yeah. Okay. Yes.
So the hypocrisy of all this is that the people who are demonizing the trans community and putting targets on them, um, every time they have a large convention or gathering, that gay app crashes in that area of the event. Think about that for a second. The hypocrisy of that.
Well, and I
And that is
think,
what we deal with on a daily basis, where we get um, put into these, easy to fit categories because that's what they think it is. And they have no idea what really goes on because they refuse to educate themselves and understand um, who these people are. They're your fellow, they're your fellow human beings. That's what you should
yes,
take. That's what you should, start with, and be curious. But there's a large section of our population that is not intellectually curious. They're just not curious. They are sheep, and it's so hurtful to everybody, especially marginalized communities, Black, Brown, women, LGBTQ plus, Asian plus, everybody who's in a
yeah,
marginalized community, and they want to throw this towel over us of you're all bad people and you shouldn't be here and we don't want you around and you shouldn't read to kids in libraries when you have a wig on. It's like, come on, really? It's
um,
2025 and we're trying to go
yeah.
back to the 1940s. I'm sorry. This, it gets me riled up. So when I have a platform, I speak up about it because I think it's important um, to put my voice out there. I have a platform. It's not a big platform, but I have a platform, and I'm allowed. And I go on other people's platforms to speak. And you know what? I'm going to speak about it. And if people don't like it, bye.
Well,
That's
and
my
I
that's
think,
my 2 cents.
and I'm glad you said it. I think that a couple of comments to that. I don't think governments, as a rule, are known for their for their wisdom or their empathy, and so that seems to be the reality as far as I'm concerned. I also have often said to people, it's easy to criticize and demonize and point fingers at other people, but I always want to bring the point closer to home, and I say, so if your kid came home and said, "Mom and Dad, there's something I need to tell you," imagine this happening in your own kitchen or your own living room, where it becomes real up close and personal. Would you not still love that kid? So why would anyone hate someone else's kid who is in the uh, same position?
That's a great question. Um, I don't know the answer, and my only suggestion is educate yourself, get out there, leave your comfort zone, um, watch a video that has nothing to do with what is in your circle. Watch some RuPaul's Drag Race if you want to get to know, about drag queens and what they're like and their language and their creativity and their backstories. If I wanted to know more about, car racing, I'd watch some NASCAR races.
Yeah,
I don't enjoy it, but if I needed to learn more about it and understand it, that's what I would do. I'm not going to sit here and say, "Oh, NASCAR drivers are terrible because I don't like NASCAR."
yeah.
It's nonsensical.
Well, and
You got to think of it that way.
yeah, and I think the reality is that many groups in society um, are either currently under attack or at some point in our history have been. It's like I'm Ukrainian. I'm of Ukrainian ancestry. So when Ukrainians would have come to Canada in the 1890s, quite often they shortened and anglicized their names. When the kids went to school, they weren't allowed to speak their native tongue. Now, I'm not saying it's the same sort of thing, but I'm just saying that for most people, we don't have to look too far to find out what it feels like to be persecuted to some degree. So
Mhm.
if we didn't like that feeling, whether it was the being the lefty and a teacher is trying to get you to print with your right hand, You know, it goes from the sublime to the ridiculous. It's little teeny weeny things. It's genocide on the other, you know, at the other extreme. So why can't we just live and let live? Stop stereotyping, you know. Let's not stereotype Ukrainians. Let's not stereotype farmers. You know, you're talking about educating yourself. Well, if somebody wants to know what it's like to be a woman of a certain age driving a combine, ask me. Don't you know? Don't assume that you know the answer. So I just think that being courageous enough, curious enough, empathetic enough to even have the conversations would go a hell of a long way to making things better for everybody.
And that's a hard concept for a lot of people to understand, that when we really look into things and we look deep, where a lot of us are the same. We have a lot of similarities, whether it be, you know, favorite food, favorite music, favorite band, whatever, or, you know, lineage. We might have the same lineage. We may not have, we may not look like each other, but we may have the same, you know, kind of background. You don't know, because we come in all sorts of shapes and colors. Like I tell people when they ask me about, you know, Puerto Ricans, or you don't look Puerto Rican. What is a Puerto Rican supposed to look like? Do I have to have a blade in my hand or a machete for you to recognize that I'm Puerto Rican? Should I be darker brown? Should I be, you know, have an accent when I speak English? I said, because in Puerto Rico, people of every color exist and every hair color. Okay, I have redheaded cousins who are Puerto Rican, who are whiter than white, whiter than me, and I'm pretty white, and they're redheaded. I have cousins who my 9-year-old nephew, his grandmother, his grandparents are Puerto Rican, but they have African descent, you know. So he's a brown boy, right? And you know, so we come in all different colors, and that goes for anybody around the world. Like, you know, how you can't say, especially in our neck of the woods, is, you know, we're from all over the world. And I think that's fascinating, and I like to learn where people are from, or what, you know, backgrounds you have. It just makes people a lot more interesting when you can talk to them about that stuff, and they don't feel judged by you. You know, because you can ask questions and feel judged, or you can ask questions because you genuinely want to know.
Exactly. So again, we've already established that I'm kind of a smart cookie. So now I'm going to say, you're Puerto Rican? So
That's right.
so were you born in Puerto Rico?
No, my parents
Because,
were. I was born
okay.
and raised in Boston.
Okay, like, and you know, because I'm a kind of a little bit of a smartass sometimes, I wanted you to say something in Boston. Yet you don't seem to have a
It's
Boston accent.
no. So uh, I don't know why. But I always tended to hang out in spaces that were more educated and more
Oh, okay.
worldly kind of vibes. Um, so like I wasn't like I didn't just stick to my neighborhood and my group of Puerto Ricans. I like to spread out. You know, so in '98, I left Boston for the first time and I moved to Memphis, Tennessee.
Oh,
Big dramatic change. Um, where my name Eddie became Ayed. And then from there, I moved to Atlanta, Georgia, and I lived there for a couple of years. and met amazing people there. And then I moved to South Florida, where I lived there for about 8 years, and that was a blast. And in that interim, I lived in New York City for a few months, um, and then in 2008, after Barack Obama was elected president, I moved back to Boston, and I went to culinary school because I had been laid off
Oh,
from my job in Florida. Yeah, so I have an associate
culinary
in
school.
culinary science. Yes.
Well,
Yeah,
so did you work in that field?
I did for a few years. I worked actually for one of the top chefs in Boston, Lydia Shire. Her son now runs his own restaurant. That's pretty popular. If anybody that knows anything about Boston, there's the old Charles Street jail was converted into a fancy schmancy hotel, and she owns one of the restaurants in there. That's very, very popular. Um, so yeah, I got to work with her, and then she even recruited me to teach cooking classes on off hours in the restaurant, and yeah, so I got to do all that, and
I
it was a
love
good
this kind of
experience.
stuff.
It's a good experience.
And I think this just exemplifies what I was hoping to happen with this series, that these are the sorts of things that organically come out in conversation when two people are actually talking to each other
Hmm.
and feeding off the answers and taking the rabbit where, following the rabbit trail wherever the rabbit trail goes
Yeah,
to the next topic.
exactly.
I love it. Um, and I honestly, I have to apologize. I've had my eyes so much on this guy that I have been neglecting the chat. I'll just pick up on this last thing that Diane Olson said. So that's how we always get around to talking about food on PM Artist Studio Stream.
Not my fault. It's
Oh,
usually not me talking about food, honestly.
and then Cookie says Eddie made us do it is a great excuse. I know I've said this before. I think it was when I was interviewing Darcy that if anyone ever wants to see what a chat operating at a primo level looks like, they should go to one of those lives because it is you can't keep up reading, and goodness only knows what they might be showing on the screen because I was mesmerized by the by the chat. And it seemed to me that there was so much love and acceptance in that chat that it kind of blew me away a little bit. And even though I've only been there a couple of times, even I, as an outsider or a newcomer or a greenhorn or whatever you want to call it, felt welcome.
Mm,
So
good.
that is pretty, I think that says something.
We are very, I mean, I say we because I do design for PM Artist Studio, but I say we because I feel like a family. And, a lot of this is due to Mariah's work and Mariah's strong belief and, you know, her open arms. She always has open arms, no matter what. Um, we've gotten very close over the last couple of years, and I remember one FaceTime conversation we had where as soon as our faces popped up, she read what was on my face. I read what was on hers. We both started crying. No words were spoken. We both started crying, and that's just the kind of person she is. She's very, very, um, very caring. Very, I can't think of the word, but she's genuine. That when she talks about we come on in, we'll love on you, she means that. She remembers people's names. She makes an effort to remember people's names. She makes an effort to, answer any questions that she can. She goes, overboard trying to, make sure everybody's having a good time, enjoying what's going on, and always welcomes the feedback, and um, so yeah, it's and so when I started going to the lives, I'm a wise ass to begin with, so behind a keyboard even more so. Um, I feed off of what other people say, or make snide comments, but all in good fun. And so it seemed to be a good fit, and I haven't stopped going ever since. And
Well, and the
it's
thing
been
is that
awesome.
they do 4 lives a week, which is a huge
Mhm.
commitment if a person doesn't want to miss one. And I have to say that it was through that I thought, oh my goodness, this guy is so quick-witted, so funny, and clearly, the golden boy of this chat, because everyone seems to just love him, hang on his every word, poke fun, and kind of take jabs every so often, because that's what you do for the ones nearest and dearest to you.
Mhm.
And it just yeah, so I'm glad that it worked out, that you were as interested in being here as I was in having you here. um okay, I am when I go to a new channel, I always click on the about part, because to me, I want to know the backstory. I want a little
Mhm.
context. It's impossible to watch everybody's videos. It's impossible to know everything about everyone. But I was um, surprised, to be honest, that you said in your about, um, little paragraph, that you suffered or suffer. I'm not sure what the text is. The tense is PTSD. So, are you willing to talk a bit about that from in the context of, maybe helping someone else who maybe is struggling in that way?
Sure. My mom, it's her birthday today.
Happy birthday,
Happy
Ma.
birthday, mom. Um, so after she passed, after this quick illness that ravaged her, she, she meant the world to me, and it hit me like a ton of bricks, like worse than I ever expected. Because I wasn't even 40 yet. And so, she always called me her baby. I was the baby. And so I always felt like, she'd always be there to take care of her baby. So, that hit me so hard. And when, you know, I, I, I hit the bed and just stayed there. Uh, but then something messed up happened where there was no family calling. There was no family coming by saying, come on, come outside for a little while, or do you want to talk, or how's it going? Do you need anything? It wasn't like that. And I'm not a reacher outer necessarily, especially when I'm in a bad space. I like to um, just stay quiet, do my thing, feel bad for myself, that sort of thing. But during that dark time, it was a lot of uh, I heard voices for a while, and her voice I heard. I could smell her perfume all the time. Um, I could, you know, sense that she was still there, and it could have been just me wanting to just keep holding on as long as I could. Um, but it rendered me almost useless. I gained a lot of weight, a lot of weight. And I was able to walk around Boston, no problem, all over the city. And I can't do that. I couldn't do that anymore. There's a lot of, self-hatred, all that. Noises that didn't bother me before started to bother me a lot. Um, and I was looking for meaning in different things. I was just looking for my place for, anything. And, like I said, no one was coming around. I had to save myself because no one was coming around. And so I went to the clinic I go to in Boston, and I signed up for therapy, and it was great. I went, and it helped a lot, and it was just nice to be able to speak to somebody who just listened. That's all I needed. It's just somebody to listen to what I was going through, without judgment, without rushing me, without making an excuse for why I was feeling that way. It's like, if someone's telling you a problem that they're having, don't interject with solutions or things they should do, because that's not helpful. It's really not. It's more important just to listen, understand, empathize, and find out what makes what motivates that person, and maybe help them in that way. But you know if it wasn't for therapy and medication, I wouldn't be here. If it was, and then I relapsed. It just hit me again. A couple years later, I lost another job because of that, and got sick again. And then I found the paper crafting on YouTube, and then I found Carrie the crafter, and then through him I found PM Artist Studio. And so I say, they saved my life. They really did. So I have a special place for them in my life.
I think that's I appreciate you sharing that, because I think that it's, you said that people weren't coming around, and it kind of reminds me of some things that I have said over the course of my life, in that we come into this world alone and we're going to leave alone. So it's kind of up to us to find a solution, to find a way to survive. Because if you would have continued to wait and believe that someone was coming to save you, you might not even be alive today, right?
Yep.
You had to get to the point where, as much as it might have been out of your comfort zone to seek help or go to therapy or whatever the solution is in any particular case,
Mhm.
that was you taking action in your own life. Instead of being a victim of the circumstances, all of a sudden you were driving the car. You were the one who decided that this is unacceptable. I can't go on this way. This is what's going to get me some help. And then
Yeah,
help and love and support comes from the places you might least expect it.
that's true.
And honestly, when you were saying, oh, people weren't coming around, maybe I'm a weirdo of some sort. I mean, I think I am a weirdo of some sort, but I do think that sometimes it's a heck of a lot easier to talk to strangers than it is to those people that we're related to, that we have all that baggage and history with. Um, you know, our peeps know our whole story,
Mhm.
and they're likely to dredge up something from 25 years ago. Whereas if you say something to a therapist or a friend that you met through PM Artist Studios or anywhere else for that matter, they're going to accept what you say at face value because they don't have that. So I think maybe that's important for everybody who's hearing this to remember that we're in charge of our own destiny and that, maybe ease off the pressure on family and take the help wherever you find it.
And it's out there. Not everywhere. Like in Boston, I'm in Boston. I was surrounded by wonderful facilities, like medical facilities, stuff like that. So, and amazing doctors. So I was very lucky in that way, and I was able to get a therapist right away. There are places where you can't do that.
Yeah.
But there are things online now. There are places you can call. So don't feel helpless. You can survive. You can. It's hard. It's a fight. It's a daily struggle when you have mental health issues, and not everybody gets what you're going through or what's going through your head. So my philosophy for since going through that has always been, anytime I pass somebody, I smile at them. I don't care who you are.
Yeah.
Because you don't know what that person's going through. So maybe that smile might give them just a little something, a little up for that day.
And I'm sorry if I did an inappropriate smile just a while ago, but I was reading a comment from the whole bucket. Well, crap. I did not know this would be this kind of show and I would need Kleenex. Eddie, thank you for sharing your story. That's just so touching.
I didn't either, but it goes where it goes, and it happens.
Yeah.
And yeah, I trust this community, so I'm not afraid to speak up. Plus, I have no F's to give anymore. I'm at that point in my life where the F's have gone out the window, and I have more of a whatever happens, but try to enjoy what's going on at the moment.
Yeah.
And today is
No,
it's called the present for a reason. It's called
Yes.
the present for a reason because it's a gift.
Yeah. Well, and all we have to do is think about those people who are no longer here, and whatever, if a person tends to die in old age, we like to say, oh, they lived a full life. But what about all those people that never got that chance? So as long as we wake up every morning and have the chance to make a difference in our own lives and in someone else's life, what more could we possibly ask for?
Yeah.
When we were talking before we went live, you mentioned depression. So is that something that you basically that you now have managed and under control, or is it something that still can blindside you every so often?
Oh no, it'll blindside you when you least expect it. There's a number of things that will trigger me. Luckily, the medications I have, the combination of medications that I've figured out with my psychiatrist, kind of quell those feelings a little bit, as far as not overreacting or kind of pulling back and going, okay, is that really worth, jumping into bed and pulling the covers over your head for,
Oh, yeah.
Get up, do something else, forget about it. It's not a big deal. Because sometimes it's things that just, are in your head.
Yeah.
Or perceived, things. And I've had to learn how to deal with that, where, I would always assume things without knowing, and I was usually wrong. So, I just gotta luckily the medications kind of help me deal with that and keep me on an even keel. So yeah.
Well, and I think the reality is that there's a huge, this maybe isn't the right word, but suite of conditions and symptoms that fall under the generalized anxiety disorder heading, at least in Canada. And I would imagine it's probably the same in the States. And we're not going to turn this into my story, but I will say that I was at one point, and you know, the screwy part of all of this is that we don't know that other people don't think like we do. So I was engaged in a conversation with a psychologist. She was asking me different things, and I would answer in my own inimitable way. And she said eventually, you realize that not everyone thinks that way, right? And I said, because I was indignant, and I said, well, they're just not trying hard enough.
Exactly.
It was such an eye opener. And again, I'm making a long story short. It turned out that I was a worrier because something to do with serotonin uptake. I wasn't hanging on to the serotonin as long as I should have. And they said, well, you know, there's medication for that. I said, I don't want to be a zombie, because I think we've seen that over the years, people who are medicated to the point of, you know, whatever.
Yeah.
So long story short, played around with one medication that did make me a zombie, played around with a second one, small dose. My quality of life has improved so much. So there's a familial thing to some of these things, you know, it kind of goes generation to generation. I gather up my sisters, my nieces and nephews, and I say, the light just came on for me. You guys need to maybe look at your own lives and think that, you know, it doesn't have to be this way. Not a single person has done a damn thing about it. I all think they should be medicated, frankly, but
Oh yeah, we could talk about that for a long time. No, I totally understand what you're saying, and it makes sense. Because and there's kind of a selfishness in there where you want to kind of fix everybody because you've been fixed. And it's like, it doesn't work that way. Like
yeah,
what they say with, you know, any addiction is you can't help them unless they want to be helped.
yeah, exactly.
But, you know, I think the more we talk about it, the easier it is to, you know, to identify or to bring up or to, you know, say to a loved one or friend, you know, hey, you're a little off. Maybe go see the doctor. And there are all kinds of different things out there. It doesn't have to be, you know, a pill. It doesn't, you know, there are different things for different people. Some people, you know, fitness is their thing. I wish it was for me. Mine is just fitting food in my mouth. That's what I do. But you know,
yes, I think that it's everyone comes to their own awareness in their own time. I just think that thank goodness that the stigma seems to be lessening, and that when a person looks at it as though, okay, if a person had diabetes, they'd obviously take some insulin. If what's going on up here is a wiring issue, how is there any shame or whatever in seeking help for that problem versus the diabetes or whatever else?
I can speak from my culture. it is full of machismo. You don't talk about
Oh,
your feelings. You know, you're gay if you act effeminate. You're gay if you know you like this or whatever. Um, or don't be such a sissy. I heard that my whole life growing up.
yeah,
This is why I'm quick-witted. It's a defense mechanism that I've built up over the years to deal with such things like people going,
yeah,
oh, what kids in school, you walk more feminine than I do, and I'm like, well, stop walking like a bull. And that's the kind of thing that would help protect me, because at least I'm making
yeah,
myself laugh and maybe a couple of friends, and so it made me feel better. But
yeah,
it was a necessary tool to survive.
yeah. Um, we have a request in the chat from Whole Bucket. Can we talk about puppies next? So maybe that's a cue that that this is getting a bit heavy for some
Is it too
people.
deep for everybody? I'm sorry. Wait. Are you guys gonna get that sensitive? Oh my god. Okay, what do you want to talk about? Puppies? I don't know
I
nothing about
want to.
puppies. I know
I'm
about cats.
always I'm always curious about about artists, creators, makers, routine, habits, and so on. Do you treat your creative practice as sort of like a job, in that you show up in your studio, bright and early every morning, put in a good day's work or slash play, and or do you wait to get motivated?
Um, there's always something to do. When you're a content creator and a designer, there's always something to be doing. Um, and at times it can get really overwhelming. But I find that, do a little bit of this one day, do a little bit of that another day, and kind of form. And if I need to take a nap, I'll take a nap. Um, Sometimes I keep working and I forget to eat. That's the one fault of it. But I try to yeah, get up early, get stuff done, and then get to bed early so I can get up early. And I do better in the mornings. Um, like, this is staying up late for me. Um, Usually I'm in bed watching some mystery or a horror movie and falling to sleep.
So do you how do you feel about thrifting? Are you a thrifter?
I like to thrift. I don't get to do it as often as I would want to, but I like to thrift. I've been with thrifting with Darcy. We had a blast, and she's fun thrifting. So I think it's if you do it with the right person, it's a good time. If you do it with somebody who's like, can we go? It's just not
Yeah.
fun.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I like to stop. I look at everything, and labels and this and that. I dig in for stuff. That's fun.
Do you have the same issue that many of us do, in that you have too much stuff?
I thought I did, but I think I have a manageable amount of stuff, um, and I try to keep it that way. Um, but I don't have the space right now to like be a hoarder. Um, so I try to like keep things from going overboard. Like I, keep things in storage drawers and boxes and try to keep everything as as organized as I can, but like convenient for me.
Yeah.
Um, but I mean, I can't have enough paint. That's a fact. That's
Yeah.
one of those things. Now, when I was
So it's
watercoloring a lot, I did buy a lot of stuff. A lot of stuff. I mean, I used it. I love it, and I still have it. I take good care of it.
yeah.
But yeah, I bought a lot of stuff.
Yeah. Is your
But, I
first
think when
love
you get into
gel?
something, oh, I'm sorry.
Sorry.
When you first get into something, like we were talking about before, you want to get everything, you know. So yeah, that was like my vibe about, when I was doing watercolors. Like, I gotta get everything, I gotta learn everything. But I think that's healthy in a way. I don't
Yeah.
know.
That's our story and we're sticking with it.
That's right.
Do you love gel printing the most? Like, is that your favorite activity in the craft room?
Um, I would say at this point it is. Um, because it surprises you all the time. It can be really frustrating too when you have this idea of what you want to create, and it's a total bust. I mean, I've started this series of lost and found videos that I've been going through my Dropbox files trying to clear out unnecessary stuff to clean up, to make space. And I've come across some videos where, there are sometimes I just turn the camera on and I just do stuff. Um, and for whatever reason, I never edit it into a proper video. So I've been going through, old files, and I'll be putting out videos that have been lost in my files, and I've recently found them, and who knows what it's going to be, but it'll be some fun stuff. I
So
mean,
it's
I
not a
do
bloop.
create.
It's not a blooper reel.
No, um, I don't usually have bloopers. If anything, is like the stray cuss word, but I don't really do that as much as I thought I would. Because like the minute I turn the camera on, my mind says, "You have an audience. Speak like
Yeah.
you have an audience, and you're not going to cuss at your audience. So unless you
Yeah.
make me, but so I always have that in mind. And then, I got to remember, I can pause this. I don't have to stress out about this. I can pause the video, you know. So there's a lot of
Yeah.
stuff that people don't see that is edited out because
Yeah.
whether it's drying time, whether it's, oops, I spilled this, I got to clean it up, or I got to go to the bathroom, or something, or somebody,
Yeah.
walks in and starts talking while you're filming. It's like, oh, okay, hang on, pause, and, go back.
Yeah.
Introductions, I've done introductions 5-10 times until I feel like it's right. And I will literally sit here on my own, talk to myself and say, okay, take two. Just so that when I go back to edit, I know, okay, there's different, versions of this that I need to figure out which one I want.
Okay. So I've been ignoring the chat and I apologize for that because there's been kind of a lot going on. Jean is here, Lizzie Jean, and she's
Hi,
practically
Gene.
screaming. She wants to go thrifting with you, Eddie.
One day soon we should go. That would be awesome. I've never
Um,
been to that neck of the woods, so you can show me around.
and Carol is reminding me to ask you my couple of my standard questions. I think I know the answer to one. Would you consider yourself an extrovert or an introvert?
Introvert.
I thought so. And how do you feel
Well,
about purple?
it depends. It depends on the situation. I was big into nightclubs, and that's not something for an introvert. Um, but nightclubs, I talk to everybody. Um, Purple, I love purple. That was I wore a purple gown. Before you guys make any comments, that was my high school graduation gown. It was purple.
So
So
you
there you
were
go.
you were kind of cutting edge back in the day. I actually had a
Yeah.
purple gown as well, but of course, a few decades earlier than you. Um, and I guess in my case, it wasn't that much of a surprise. Susie has been way back when she was asking sort of what your specialty is. So,
Oh.
um, like, what do you? Because the videos of yours that I've seen, they are typically you playing um, with gel plates. creating, art in that way. Now, it could be my fault that I haven't found the videos where, okay, here's what Eddie does with this now. So, do
Mhm.
you have an end goal in mind with all that fodder that you're creating? Do you make
Um,
journals? Do you like
mhm.
what is the end goal, or is it just because you love it?
No, I've made several journals. I have sold several journals. I used to sell them. I have many that are sitting waiting to be photographed and finished up to be put on sale. I just it's one of those things where it's like I know I got to do it, but I just keep putting it off. And then I create. There's also I've created boxes or decorated boxes. There's the step box that I did with gel prints. That's a lot of fun. That's um, very folding heavy and intricate stuff. That was fun. I try to do something that, like, if I see something that sparks my interest or if somebody suggests something, I'll try it. It may be the first time I'm doing it. Sometimes I don't do it beforehand. I will do it just there. I'll turn the camera on and start doing it. um so I'm
Okay.
not that, I don't have like a specific, thing I
Yeah.
travel, or if it sparks my interest, I'll try it.
Yeah.
If I don't
And
like it, I don't do
I
it anymore.
exactly. And I think that and I've said it before, I'll repeat it though. I think that is how, I think that's the blessing in doing this, that we get to, decide every day what we do, when we do it, how we do it, how long we do it. And if we don't want to do
Mhm.
it, damn it, we don't have to do it. I
That's
mean,
right.
who else would have freedom like that? Certainly no nine to fiver.
And I think that's what really made me excited to continue this path, is that I do have control of what I can do and not do. Um, I don't have that boss, voice behind me. I don't have to punch a clock. I don't have to worry about getting on a train at a certain time, or the commute, that sort of thing. Dealing with bad weather. If it's crappy weather outside, perfect. I'm
Yeah,
juggling
exactly.
or doing something. So yeah, it's a great space to be in. Yeah, I could be making more money, but this is what I love doing, so I'm doing it.
Yeah. Well, and you know what? Money isn't all it's cracked up to be, because I think we don't have to look long or hard to find people who hate their jobs, whose jobs are making them sick, whose jobs are killing them one day at a
Mhm.
time, and they just don't know it yet. And I
I
understand that
still
that's
have a
kind
full head of hair. I
of
still
and
have
it's
a
a
full
lovely
head of
head of
hair. Take that, okay? And I
hair.
think that's important too, like you said, is there are people that might be, driving a really nice car, but their health isn't good, or their home life may not be good because of all the pressures. Um, so yeah, I
Or
feel
their
very lucky
ulcer is
to.
bleeding, or their ulcer
Mhm.
is bleeding. So
That
yeah,
too.
sometimes it's a. I just want to say, Jean is saying Eddie is a very extraordinary person. He knows many things, has a great education, and is very kind, and has the best hair. And somebody
Thank
else,
you.
Diana, saying, "Yeah, great hair." Susie was wondering. Now you said, you kind of hinted at some procrastination. So I don't know if you've got the answers, but Susie is saying that she has a real problem with procrastination. Do you have any advice?
Excuse me. Um, hmm. I often, when I have a lot of things that I know need to be done and I'm not doing them, I will make a physical list, pen and paper, pencil and paper, and I put it on my keyboard. So when I get up in the morning, and I sit down with my cup of coffee and open up my YouTube and look at some news or listen to some podcast, I see the list and with fresh eyes and go, okay, I can manage that. And that's my way of tackling things that I can't, that I normally, or that I keep pushing off. That's what I find helps me.
Visualize, I mean, have the list, like make it real instead of just floating
Yeah.
out there, and the satisfaction of crossing it off or whatever.
Mhm.
So Carol is saying that her Puerto Rican friends all seem to have access to the fountain of youth. So do you? So is that an ethnic or a genetic thing that you've got that
Um,
lovely hair? And
yeah, we've got great
I
genes.
can't see any gray. Any grays?
A little bit on the
Oh,
sides. The
okay. I
beard
see
is
3 or 4.
gray. There's not many, and this is not dyed. This is all natural. But as I'm showing my scalp, I don't know. I don't know. We tend to be happier, if that makes sense. Like we are more celebratory. We love to hug. We like to, have a good time. Um, I grew up with the mom who would wake us up with the loud music and the Spanish music, and she's singing along and mopping the floors or doing whatever, and that was us. We were loud. We're still loud. You know, we're very expressive, and you know, I don't know. I think maybe it's just the vibe we have. Maybe it's genetic. I don't know. I've never done a genealogy test. I would love to do one to see what backgrounds I have, but I know that like my dad's side of the family, they were more fair skinned, straight hair. My dad's father, he had blue eyes. My mom's dad, I never met my grandfathers, by the way. That's another thing. And then, so my mom's dad, he had very tight curly hair, was darker skinned. But then my grandmother, when he was married to her family, they're fair skinned too. And that's where I get the red-headed cousin, who's down in Florida. Oh, no, he's in Texas now. And so there's all kinds of stuff. And like I said, my brother, his son's mother, both of his sons' mothers are African American. One is Puerto Rican, one is not. So yeah, there's all kinds of stuff going on in here. Maybe that's the key is a good mix.
Yeah. So you early on you mentioned, or maybe I just wrote it down from having watched one of your videos. I think you have I say coffee. Some people say coffee. So you have a coffee shop, right?
Yes.
Is that? And so, if anyone is interested in your stencils or stamps that you've created for PM Artist Studio, the place to go for that is there.
Is PM Artist Studio?
Yeah, you made reference to in one of your videos that I saw to freebies in your coffee shop. So that's, I guess, a way for people. Well, and there must be stuff for sale there as well. So
there's
that's
a few things, yeah,
for people to get a little piece of Eddie if they want one, right?
Yeah. It's a lot of it's some watercolors that I've done that you can download. There's a lot of like background, like printable papers, and a couple of other things. But yeah, uploaded some gel prints on there for people to download and use and whatever. Because there's people out there who craft, but they don't gel print. But I got a lot of requests for, oh, I would love, some gel prints. I don't gel print myself, but I would love some. So that was like, all right, I'll upload some, and you can download it and use it as you wish.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
So when you finally, I mean, and God knows we all have those skeletons in our closets, those started projects that never got finished. When those journals are finished, where will people be able to find them?
I haven't
Do you have
decided
it?
yet. I have Etsy, but it's expensive using them. And in my situation, I don't have a lot of money to play around with as far as shipping and all.
Yeah,
So I think that's kind of my hesitation, is finding the right place to
yeah,
sell them,
yeah,
or if I'm going to just, do like one of those live streams where I show the book and then
yeah.
people want
People
it,
just reach out. Yeah,
first
reach
come,
out.
first serve, that sort of thing.
Yeah,
And I think that's my biggest hesitation, is when and where, how, and all that stuff.
yeah,
So
yeah.
this might be the
But
motivation to do it and get it done. So fingers
yeah.
crossed.
Well, and I think you do seem to have a following and an adoring public who probably want a piece of something you've created. So I would just, and God knows I need to hear this myself, but um I would say just do it and put it out
Yeah.
there. And honestly, it does seem like the most economical way to do it is just directly, a flip through
Yeah.
and first come, first serve. And
Yeah.
so I typically also ask guests, like what might be on the back burner, or what future plans do you have, either for your art practice, your channel, uh, personal goal, like whatever you want to tell us about. Are you a goal oriented person, or do you kind of just by the seat of your pants?
There have been too many events in the past couple of years that have like just kicked my butt, and I've put a lot of faith into things people have promised or said, um, that never materialized. So I just kind of go day by day right now. And my main goal is to get back to Boston, because that's my home. I currently live in over an hour outside the city, in a terrible suburb. Many of you have seen my videos where you can hear the traffic going by. Luckily, I have a new microphone, so you can't hear a lot of it. But once in a while, those motorcycles with the glass mufflers comes by and just like shakes the whole place. And we're on like literally like we're on the route to Providence, Rhode Island, and to the Cape Cod. So we get a lot of people going back and forth to these places, and that's just it's insane. I've gotten used to it at night. I found ways to deal with that, but I'm dying to get back to the city. I miss the city noise. I miss being able to, just walk out, grab a bus or jump on the train, go to a museum, see some culture. There's nothing like that here. It's very white bread. It's like it's like eating mayonnaise out of the jar with a spoon. Yeah, I don't
Well,
like
and
it.
if you know anything about Julia Cameron and her book, The Artist's Way, well, we need to keep priming the pump. We need to have that stimulation of um, seeing art and, going to those types of events that you're talking about, where we replenish our, because let's face it, I think we expend a lot of creativity, so somehow we need to keep um, renewing ourselves in a sense. So I hear you, and I hope that that works out for you, because I think you got a lot to share with us, my dear. Um, I just want to say that again, I didn't do a very good job of acknowledging everyone. There are so many people I didn't say hello to, and they're probably, they might not even be here anymore. I hope you understand that, I was in the thick of it with Eddie. Can't be too
We're in the
pleased.
zone, okay? You wouldn't want Barbara Walters to turn around and go, "Oh, look what the person outside is saying." No, you want to hear what Barbara Walters has to say and ask. We had a Barbara Walters moment. She made me cry. That's not easy.
Anyway, it has been such a pleasure getting to know you more, like to a deeper degree. I wish nothing but the best for you in terms of your art practice, getting to a happier location for you to thrive in, and just getting more of that. You almost sounded militant at one point where you were talking about the struggles that some of your friends are still dealing with and so on, in terms of orientation. So I wish understanding and empathy came a little faster than it sometimes does, but I think you have to also be proud of what you've accomplished, and um, it's just a case of showing up and doing your thing, and
Mhm.
and in a sense, being the role model that others can try to emulate. um, I think there are still some people that are trying, that are probably maybe haven't even come out of the closet. So
Mhm.
you know people are at different
And
stages of their development, and need
mhm.
some role models.
And they don't need pressure from anybody to do
Yeah,
what you think they should do.
yeah,
Um, but you also want to make it comfortable for them when they do decide that they want to share who they really are with everybody. Make
yeah.
sure the space is welcoming and comforting, um, but never try to force somebody out of the closet. It's just it's dangerous. It can cause a lot of damage.
Well, and that's good advice there too, because again, some of us might not know that and might be a little overzealous
Mhm.
in our encouragement. Um, any final words of advice, or what you would have been able, maybe something you wish you would have known when you were a sweet young thing of 20 or 48 or
Oh yeah,
whatever.
there's a lot of things I wish I'd known, but you know that's part of growing up
Yeah,
is making mistakes, hopefully learning um, from them. The journey along the way, I've lived in many places. I've met all kinds of people. I've seen all kinds of stuff. And like I was telling you earlier, I've never left the country, but I've seen a lot of my country. And I love it all. It's been all amazing. And I guess my advice is just take each day as it's given to you, enjoy it to the fullest. It's just paper. That's another good piece of advice. It's just paper. You can paint over it if you want. Gesso is your friend. Um,
yeah,
but, just try to have some laughter in your life, even if it's just a little bit every day. I watch a lot of satire and British panel shows on YouTube, and it just brings me enjoyment. It makes me laugh. It makes me feel good. Um, it's something different, um, but it's that laughing. Whatever makes you laugh, do that more.
yeah. I just see a question here. What art do you want to try next? Is there something on on your wish list for,
Well, I've been trying to work harder on collaging. I think that's what I want to, kind of, build on. And I'm still trying to find my style, if I have a style, and kind of like figuring that out. Um, but I'm up for anything really. If something, like I said earlier, if something sparks my interest and I want to give it a try, I'll give it a try. Um, but right now, I love my gel printing. I love my stencils. I love getting dirty with paint. I have stacks of prints, but I wouldn't have it any other way.
you decorated paper clip or no clothespins the other day.
Yeah,
They're so darn
there's
cute.
that one. Where's my other one? I had another one like right here. I wanted to show you. Oh, well,
I
it's
just
gone. Oh, here it is.
maybe,
Like black and white.
yeah, because that's the one you doodled on a bit, right?
Mm-hmm.
I just wanted to, if you could offer a word of encouragement, how long, or maybe, well, or give us some tough love, how long did it take you to get what you would call proficient or, yeah, proficient at gel printing? Because it doesn't happen overnight. Like, so is it a year? Is it?
Because I was not doing a lot of other stuff. Um, it was about 6 months, um, and that because I would stay up late and just jump in. I'd watch videos. I go to the live streams at PMR Studio, and Patricia is amazing at teaching. So she, all her tips, I soak all that in. I find what works best for me. Um, but don't everybody learns at different paces. Take your time. The one thing I,
Don't
I
give
do say
up.
to don't give up. But what I do say is get to know the paints that you do have that you're working with, and experiment and get to know how they work on the plate, how they interact with other brands or other types of paint, how they interact with the paper you're using. Does it dry faster than this other one? What colors dry faster? There are certain colors that dry faster on the gel plate, or in general. Metallics dry faster, blues tend to dry faster. Um, there's different, what is the word? Viscosities of paint. Um, so, not every paint's going to look the same when you open the jar or squeeze it out of the tube. And so you want to get to know how that, how all that works, and then go from there. Uh, Keep a color wheel next to you at all times. It helps a lot. It really
How
does.
many recipes are there to make mud? Uh, and there really is no junk because you can always add to it, right?
Mhm.
So don't throw anything away, just keep building.
Yeah, keep building. I often say, it may not look like anything now. Put it away. Come back to it later, month, few weeks later, and look at it and go, look at it again, and something will crop up in your head and go, okay, maybe I can do this to that, or maybe you learned a technique within that time frame that you can apply to that print and make it extra special for yourself or for whatever you're doing.
Yeah. I think we will begin winding down here. One thing I forgot to say earlier on when I was gushing on about you is that you have a very sort of melodic voice, and every so often people, you can read in comments. I've had people say that about me, for heaven's sakes. Oh, I like the sound of your voice. But I think in your case it really seems true, and I don't know if that's because you know, it's a masculine voice among a world of female voices who are everything from, you know, maybe a little screechy to a little bit hoarse to a little bit quivering. And your voice is just so calming, and, you know, it's just, anyway, I'm saying check
Um,
him out.
it's I don't know. Mo actually, Cookie, she made that comment recently to me about I have a gentleness to my tone. Um, it it comes with just wanting everybody to feel welcome. There are many instances where I never felt welcomed into a space. And so for me, when you come to my space, I want you to feel like you can, exist in that space along with me and not feel intimidated by what I'm doing or showing you. Um, and oftentimes I'll leave mistakes in the video so people can see, yeah, I'm a real person. I make mistakes as well, but you can't let that, stop you. Um, and then I come from, my mom was a teacher. So I think I've got that in me too, as being, you know, try to be instructive instead of, whatever the other word is. I can't think. It's late.
Do you sing? Somebody wants
No,
to know. Okay,
not
so
not if you want to keep your hearing. Yeah, like anybody does, when you're home alone, you turn up the tunes, and yeah.
yeah, yeah. If I were singing, we'd have to evacuate the place. Um, in a day or so, you will be able to, of course, share this live on your channel. So I hope you choose to do that. And of course,
Oh well.
I want to thank everyone who appeared here today and participated in the chat, as well as welcome anyone who will be watching the replay. It has been a pleasure to have you here, Eddie. And yeah, our paths will cross again someday, I'm sure.
For sure, definitely. I need to make it across the border. Um, but thank you for having me. This was a lot of fun. Thank you for everybody who came and shouted stuff out. I wasn't reading the comments, to be honest. I wanted to focus on what Hazel was saying and the questions, and keeping my thoughts straight so I could answer something and not sound like a doofus. Um, so I'll come back once this is rendered, and I'll look at the chat. So don't worry about that. But yeah, thank you for showing up. Thanks for the support and the love.
Okay, good night, everyone.
Good night.
I should say that next week is Gwen, the trash witch. So check her out. And
Ooh.
I will be sending the October schedule to Susan at I Totally Love It. And I'm not going to spill the beans right here, but there is a superstar that is going to be interviewed next month. So tune in for
Wait,
that.
so was it me? I'm not the superstar? We have issues now, Hazel. We're gonna
I'm
have
sorry.
issues.
If we are measuring superstardom by subscribers, then I'm afraid she trumps you.
Yeah, that's okay. Don't say Trump,
But
please.
you are a star in your own right.
Thank you.
How's that for quick thinking?
I love it. Thank you. I appreciate the platform and the wonderful, thoughtful questions. It was great.
Thank you. Okay, good night, everyone.
Thanks. Bye.